division has been grinding along with its Tony Hawk franchise for 8 years now, practically uncontested. This year, things are different, with EA Skate generating a lot of buzz and some stiff competition. Has it pushed the godfather of extreme sports games to new heights, or left it sketching out? This franchise has gone through many different styles of storytelling over the years, but Proving Ground represents the second year in a row where Bam and the Jackass crew have been supplanted for a more serious story.
Skating's about skating, man.
Well, it's not that serious. Once again, you start out as an up-and-coming young skater who has to navigate the twisted world of sponsors, competitions, and rival rippers in hopes of turning pro. It still includes lame writing, cliché storylines, and uneven voice acting from real skaters.
Alright then, let's see what you got.
Maybe someday a skateboarding game will take things a little more seriously, but that's definitely not the case in Proving Ground.
JS1, technique, lifelong, yeah, I only roll with true masters.
The primary single-player mode remains relatively the same as Project 8, with a few tweaks. You begin by creating your character from a limited list of options, and then you set out to make your mark, and for the first time in series history, there are a number of ways to do this. After a brief warm-up period, you're introduced to 3 different character classes: the hardcore skater, the career skater, and the rigger. The hardcore skater is very much like the people you see in your local community. They do it for the love, the aggression, and the outlet. Inside the game, this class has the ability to knock down pedestrians with a skate check, which sadly perpetuates awful stereotypes about the sport and its participants. Hardcores are also adept at bowl skating and ripping the lip with slappy grinds. The second class is the career skater, or the Tony Hawk types, who enter every demo or contest they can get into in hopes of scoring magazine or video coverage and ultimately becoming rich. Then there are the riggers. These guys have the ability to build their own skate parks from discarded components, so you now have the freedom to rearrange objects just about anywhere in the world instead of in predetermined areas. The 3 different classes make playing through the game a flexible experience. You can choose to walk down one path or create a well-rounded skater by dipping your toe into all 3. While there are specific challenges you have to complete to walk down the career path, scores of optional objectives are scattered around the environments as well. Spot challenges, gap challenges, and photo and video challenges are all over the place. Each is rated in 3 difficulty settings, though the average player is going to have problems completing anything but the bare minimum. Aside from the single player, which will take gamers varying amounts of time to complete based upon how many side objectives they tackle, there's a full online suite as well. The downside here is that all the options have been in Tony Hawk games before, with the exception of a personalized skate lounge that you can invite people to and the ability to wager in-game money. Tony Hawk's Proving Ground is stuffed to the gills with content, and for the first time, you're able to choose your path through the story mode, which is a nice touch. The original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was a smash hit because it was accessible, yet it made players feel like real skaters for the first time. Subsequent releases kept piling on the additions, culminating with the revert to manual, which lets players keep their combo strings going across the flat ground. For those who were good at the game, it was a godsend. For the casual player, it was a nightmare, as they could never wrap their heads around it. With target scores far beyond their reach, many eventually checked out of Tony's camp for good. Unfortunately, Neversoft has continued to roll down this snake run for years, constantly adding new gameplay features when the average player never came to grips with the last round. The same holds true here. Last year, Nail the Trick was the big new addition, which allowed players to slow down time and flip the board around with each analog stick representing a foot. This year, 2 new mechanics have been introduced: Nail a Grab and Nail a Manual. The problem is that the game has just become too complicated. To perform either of these new moves, you have to get some air, click both analog sticks, hold one of the triggers, and then be deft at timing the moves, or in the case of the manual, balancing the board using questionably sensitive analog sticks. It's just too much. We've played the series since its inception, and we still have problems trying to combine these tricks together. We can't imagine what a newcomer will go through. Worst of all, nailing these things is required to complete the game. In Project 8, you could get by sparingly using the Nail a Trick feature, but here, you're required to use all 3 slow-mo features, and sometimes combine them into one combo. When you do manage to complete various objectives, you're not given the chance to select which abilities to upgrade. Instead, the game does it automatically based upon how you skate. Do lots of spins, and your spin rating will rise. Love to grind? Your balance meter will become more forgiving. Another new addition to the game is the aggro kick. Basically, you use the shoulder button to push and gain speed. However, if you don't time the kick exactly right, you'll lose all of your momentum, and it can be difficult at times to get that timing right. Especially on the PlayStation 3 controller where there's no rumble to alert you to the proper timing. Anticipating the speed you'll get from this feature is difficult, and considering it's something that every skater learns the first day they hit the streets, it's puzzling why it's even in the game.
Those extra few pushes were the move.
Not all of the additions have been to the detriment of the series, however. There's a brand new video editing feature that's easily the best in any game to date. Instead of just spitting out a raw clip with a couple of effects thrown on top, you can gather a bunch of clips, trim them down to the essential bits, and then edit them together into one cohesive piece, complete with background music, some killer effects, and a variety of camera angles to choose from. It's pretty addicting, and best of all, the scoring takes into account if you've cut to the beat of the music. You can also upload your videos for others to download. Aside from the new features, the Tony Hawk Foundation remains. The trick controls are still incredibly responsive, the action runs at a breakneck pace, and the levels are cleverly designed to create lines that run for miles. It's still an exaggerated arcade-style look at the sport, but it's a finely honed experience that has mutated over the years to avoid a lot of the minor annoyances that fledgling skateboarding games often overlook. If you've been playing the series for years, then Proving Ground will be the next step up, and a challenging one at that. If you're new to the series, you're going to have a difficult time coming to grips with the unforgiving gameplay that assumes too much of the player. We've had problems noticing any difference between last year's Project 8 and this year's Proving Ground from a graphical perspective. The game runs a little smoother, but the quality of the visuals hasn't really changed. The character models still look like rough approximations of their real-world counterparts, but the animation manages to shine once again. As usual, the soundtrack is an eclectic mix of hip-hop, punk, and classic rock tunes. The selections here aren't as enigmatic as past installments, but when you're including this many songs year after year, eventually you're going to run out of classics. The voice acting is generally pretty flat, and while we understand the reasoning behind using the real skaters to voice their characters, maybe it's time to place a priority on quality at the expense of authenticity.
Let's just say it's a pretty big deal.
The big question on everyone's mind is which is better, EA's Skate or Tony Hawk's Proving Ground? We're going to go with Tony on this one, though by a slim margin. The core of the game is just much stronger, with the full complement of tricks, more reliable controls, far more interesting objectives, a vastly superior video editing tool, and a lot more content in general. That said, it's time for the Neversoft team to come to the realization that making the game more complex year after year isn't the only recipe for success.